Good evening. I'm Salakar Noad, Shilikar Vincent P. Adams, and I'm co-founder of ETSIM, along with my lovely wife, Navia Leslie Adams. And this is an outreach of ETSIM Temple. This is the neuroplastic meetup group. And it's Monday evening. We get together every Monday evening at 7 p.m. This is our second meetup. Last week we talked about primarily neuroplasticity, the anatomy of the brain. And it took up the entire evening. So this week, instead of starting off with neuroplasticity, I'm going to start off with kabbalah. And perhaps we will use the entire time on kabbalah this week so that we can kind of balance out what we did last weekend. But hopefully as the weeks go by, we'll have a discussion of both. Anybody have any questions about last week or a topic you want to talk about kabbalah, about neuroplasticity, anything? No? Yeah, Vina.
Vincent, you were going to explain what kabbalah is and like what the definition and what it entails.
I still haven't figured out what kabbalah is, or a suitable definition. It kind of has to define itself. That the word kabbalah means the receiving. It's a doctrine of Orthodox Judaism, and centuries ago, it really wasn't until the late 20th century, or maybe 15, 20 years ago, that it really became accessible for the most part to Westerners. It was a very closely guarded secret mystery of Judaism, even amongst the Jews. The requirement was that you had to have been studying Torah for 35 years before they would admit you as a student of Kabbalah. You had to have studied Torah 35 years, so you hit minimum age of 40. In the Jewish tradition, the rabbinical tradition, they start studying Torah at 5 years old. So the minimum age was 40, 35 years of Torah study. You had to be a man, and you had to be married. So that persisted, my goodness, probably up until the 90s, maybe even the 80s, and it still persists amongst a lot of teachers of Kabbalah. Here in Tulsa, there's only one place to learn Kabbalah, and that's Chabad House. And maybe I shouldn't even say it's Chabad House, but I won't mention his name, but the rabbi there, I asked him a few years ago if he would teach me Kabbalah, and he was, no. So he absolutely refused to teach me Kabbalah. So to my knowledge, I'm the only one in Tulsa who is teaching Kabbalah. I'm the only Jew in Tulsa teaching Kabbalah to you Gentiles. Yeah. So there you have it. It's clouded in a lot of, I don't want to, not really shrouded in mystery if someone would just teach it to you or whatever, but it forms the basis for all of the other mystery religions according to its stories. In the Bible, there's a part of the Bible where it says Abraham gave his children gifts, his other children other than Isaac, and he gave them gifts and sent them away from Isaac. And the legend is those children that he sent away went out, he had taught them the mysteries of Kabbalah. And those children that he sent away and gave gifts went out and started Buddhism, Taoism, the Hindu tradition, and several of the other Eastern philosophies. So Kabbalah alleges that everything pretty much came out of Kabbalah. And because they were separated from the source, different things were modified or amplified, and that's the reason why we have, Buddhists and the other disciplines. But everything that you can think of that the other traditions offer is in Kabbalah.
So is that including Christianity also, or is that separate from everything else?
Oh my goodness, Christianity can't even exist without Kabbalah. Matter of fact, one of the main teachings of Kabbalah is the coming of the Mashiach, or the Messiah. They are more interested in that almost than anything. So when you mention Christianity and Kabbalah, although Christians would never admit it, Christians believe it's witchcraft. Most Christians just run from it, even though they know absolutely nothing about it.
All they know is they were told to stay away from it.
Right.
That's all they know. So they figure, oh, this must be witchcraft. We must have to stay away from it. Whatever it is that they're told to stay away from, it must be witchcraft.
Everything's the devil for Christians unless it's Christianity.
That's the devil.
Their branch of Christianity.
Say that louder.
Everything is the devil to Christians except their brand of Christianity.
Right.
And that even depends on what church you're in.
Exactly. We got all over the places. It's all over the place.
I grew up going to Catholic school from like kindergarten all the way to 8th grade till I told my mother I wasn't going to go to Catholic school anymore. And then it was Presbyterian. And then after college, any number of churches, and finally a charismatic full gospel church. And then coming here to go to ORU once I got my call to go into the ministry, ORU, which is a Pentecostal seminary. So I have Catholicism, Pentecostalism, Judaism, Kabbalah, some other things that we do. It's all biblical. I don't do anything that can't be verified or justified from the Bible. Yeah. So basically the early church. When I say the early church, probably after Constantine, after the Council of Nicaea, around 300, 350 AD. That's when things just all of the spirituality was taken out of the church. They kicked the Jews out. All of the Jews were kicked out by decree at the Nicene Council. Said we are to have nothing to do with those detestable people, the Jews. That's a quote from one of the decrees of the Nicene Council. And as part of the reason why everyone's heard of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yes.
Okay. Archaeological evidence and a lot of scholars believe that was actually the Christian set of the Jews. That was Peter's set, and they went to the desert because they were persecuted by the Jews. They couldn't get any rest from the Jews. They weren't accepted by the Christians, so they went into the desert, into Quran. And that's where we get the Dead Sea Scrolls. You kind of turn off that fan, I'm getting kind of chilly
Hey,
now.
Moan, you turn the fan off, please?
Okay. So that was they were called the Nazarenes. And like I say, they're persecuted on both sides. I like to call what I believe in, I've coined my own phrase, I call it Hamashiach Judaism. The Judaism of the Mashiach, which includes the same belief systems that the Christians have, only accepting a broader range of spirituality and truth that is, that's in the Bible that the church has labored for 2,000 years to take out of the Bible so that they can maintain power and control over the people. I told this story Saturday in the Energy of the Hebrew Letters class. Anyone ever heard of St. Francis of Assisi? He was in the Middle Ages, he's one of the saints of the Catholic Church, a truly blessed man. His spirit was so calm and peaceful, he can call down the birds and, the squirrels out of the trees, birds out of the sky, and any type of wild beast would not harm him, whether it was a lion, leopard, or whatever. And he was, I believe, the first to experience stigmata. That's where you get the nail prints in your hands and your feet and the bleeding of on the side like Yeshua, miraculously. And he went to visit the Pope at that time. And the Pope took him, to the then Vatican and took him to the treasure room. And the Pope said, hey, Francis, take a look at this. No longer can we say gold and silver have we not. I don't know if you're familiar with that story. It was a man begging outside of the temple. And Peter said, gold and silver have we not, but as we have, we give to you. Rise up, take up your bed and walk. And they cured him of being a paraplegic or paralysis right there on the spot. And so the Pope was referring to that story when he said, hey, gold and silver, we can't say gold and silver have we not anymore. And St. Francis replied, yes, that's true, but no longer can we say, rise, take up your bed and walk either. A true saint of the church, whether Catholic or not. I'm not into Catholic bashing or any bashing of any group at all. Try to be as ecumenical as possible. But getting back to this doctrine of Kabbalah, what is Kabbalah? And it's going to have to, as we go forward in this, it's going to have to kind of define itself. I can tell you what I consider the main purpose of Kabbalah, or one of its 2 or 3 main purposes. One of which, and it's really the first one, the first rule, is personal transformation. And that's why we have it along with the discussion of neuroplasticity. It is the best modality of spirituality, in my opinion, that affects neuroplasticity or allows it to happen or gives you a vehicle to practice neuroplasticity. When you're practicing neuroplasticity, you're practicing Kabbalah. When you're practicing Kabbalah, you're practicing neuroplasticity, because at its core and foundation is change. And the only way that you can change is to change your brain. So Kabbalah is about transformation. Nothing matters. I don't care how much knowledge you have. I don't care how much you can meditate. I don't care if you can astral project. What you can do. If you have no personal transformation, if you're not a better person, if you're not different today than you were when you started, then it's absolutely no good. The next thing that Kabbalah emphasizes in order to bring about the neuroplastic change is controlling of your emotions. Never, ever getting angry. If you get angry, you're not a practitioner of Kabbalah. We call it reacting. If you react to this, if you get upset, angry, nervous, depressed about something, you're not practicing Kabbalah. You're not very good at it yet. So, personal transformation through the control of your emotions, which essentially means that you are controlling how you react to any stimulus from the outside world. You're in control of that. If, like in Kabbalah, for instance, let's say you're driving down the highway and someone cuts you off, or you're behind someone and they're going too slow. When you get around that person and you're passing them and they're going too slow, what do you do?
Now we're used to.
I remember when one time.
Oh, that is Mrs. Road Rage right there.
It was way back when my oldest was in Grace. He used to drive them to private school, and that little 91st Street narrowed down between Mingo and Gardner. This guy would not let me merge. We did the whole line of traffic because it's the rush hour and everything. And I had to merge, so I went into competition mode. And I gunned it, and the guy gunned it too. And I was gunning it, and I'm like, I'm running out of room now. I'm getting into hit the grass, and I started freaking out. I had enough to cut in. I used to drive in New York, so I was like, just give me a minute so I can get in there, okay? So I got in there, and he ended up going to Grace just like I was. Drop off the kids.
Oh yeah, I remember the story now.
And he got out of he parked, he got out of his car, came over to me, and said, "What is that? Your problem?" And I said, "What is your problem?" I was all, I just, what are you doing? Blah, 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 and everything. I guess he thought I was a mad woman, so. Then when I calmed down, because I've never had anyone approach me before, and my adrenaline pumped up when he came up to me. So I was already out of control of adrenaline. I was like, okay. I was ready to fight. I really was.
That's the perfect.
And I said, no. After that, I realized how ugly I was. I said, I'm not going to do that anymore. I do not want to be like that anymore. I didn't have to be that way anymore. Just what was I competing for?
Perfect example of what Kabbalah is not.
Right.
Even when you pass someone who is going slow, and we look at them like that, you've just given them the evil eye.
Yeah.
You've just sent them
Negative energy.
a negative vibration, emotion, whatever you want to call it. In Kabbalah, they say that your negative thoughts create a negative angel, or a demonic angel, or unclean spirit. And you're sending that out into the world. Now, it really doesn't matter. Doctrinally, I don't believe that we create a negative angel. But I do believe that a demonic spirit shows up with every thought and emotion that we project. So what difference does it make? The result is the same. Whether we create it or whether a demon says, okay, he's giving me permission now to do what I do. Okay? So it's the same thing. It's almost like the butterfly effect that they talk about now in science. A butterfly flaps its wings in West Africa on the coast, and we have a hurricane here in the United States. You have certain negative thoughts. Now, if you're having negative thoughts now, they probably won't affect me, enlightened being that I am. But there is, that thought doesn't really die. The energy from that thought just doesn't dissipate. It may not affect me, but maybe somewhere, say in the Middle East, where there's conflict, now they get a boost of more negativity. And you're putting that in the world, that negativity. So Kabbalah teaches that every thought, either you're creating positivity in the world or you're creating negativity in the world. Or a negative angel, positive angel, demon, whatever you want to call it. It's up to you what you want to call it. But I think you get the message. And we know neuroplastically, from a neurological sense, that our thoughts determine what mode our brain is in. Whether we're in flight or fight, or whether we're at peace or not. if we're angry most of the time, then we're either going to be in fight or flight. And as we learned last week, that affects the amygdala, which controls almost all of the, it controls the autonomic nervous system and all of those associated glands along the way. And to the degree that we're agitated, angry, upset, or even scared is the degree that the amygdala is out of homeostasis. And it's, if you're an anxious person, fearful, anxiety, it affects those glands that puts extra acid in our stomach and digestive system, and you wind up with ulcers. If you're that individual like Mike Ditka, a type A personality, the typical football coach type personality, the typical Marine, Army drill sergeant type guy, always in your face, screaming at the top of his lungs, he winds up with a heart attack. If you're somewhere in between that fearful person and that way over the top guy, you're probably going to be a diabetic. And essentially what's going on is that you're always producing the adrenaline, which is only meant for the body to produce for very short instances because it's poison. I mean, it does help you, a mother lift the car off her child, but there's some toxins that come along with that. And as I said last week, it's like sitting in a car and starting a car up, and everyone knows you should only let your car warm up maybe 10-15 minutes. But it's like sitting in your car and revving the engine all the time, always just sitting still and revving that engine. You're gonna tear up that motor. And the more you rev, the sooner you tear it up, blow it up and burn it up. Some people it's just a very low idle, and they don't even notice it. But they're hastening their destruction by doing that. If the car is idle, the engine should be off when the car is idle. Kabbalah teaches you, don't rev the engine unless you're going somewhere, unless you're using that energy to do something. If the car should be, if the brain should be idle and still, Kabbalah has a lot of different practices to help us do that. A lot of different meditative ways of.
Okay.
One of the first things you want to learn about Kabbalah is the 10 Sefirot.
The 10 C what?
Sefirot. S-E-F-I-R-O-T.
Or E-R-O-T, right? You can have E-R or I-R-O-T. Do you want me to bring it down or leave it
No,
there?
I don't think you can really focus.
Okay.
I think you're just going to have to turn that camera and they're just going to have to hear my voice. And since you can't do anything with the broadcast, we'll be concerned about the one that we are
Okay.
going to put on YouTube that we're recording from. Would it be easier just to take it out and put it down front, or
I don't know. Just go ahead and say what you got to say.
it's going to be a while, so you can't stand
You want
there
me
and
to-
hold it.
So you won't be on the camera for a long time.
I won't be on camera for a long time.
Well, then let me just put
But
it
my
right here.
voice will be on, so
Well,
let's focus on the 10 Sefirot.
I got it right here. The whole thing will fit.
Fit where?
There, next to the,
It'll fit if you.
It won't fit, Leslie. It's going to be below the desk. if you
how
put it
about
back here.
over that side? Next to the lamp,
Gotcha.
no?
That's okay. You're
Maybe.
going to put it there? All right.
Yeah, maybe.
You don't want it at an angle as you want it
Right.
here.
You were thinking about this, like he said, the lamp. I was going to change it, but I'll leave it there.
Why put it at an angle? Why not be head on?
Here I am. It's still kind of straight.
You have the entire board there.
No. I'm trying. I
You
have to move
this.
this.
Just move it. There's no wire.
I'm
Just move it back.
I am.
Okay.
Didn't you see me just say I have to move this ottoman?
Oh, I didn't see that. I was just wondering what
You
was
can't
taking
tell.
this long.
There we go. Okay.
So is it all in frame now?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, that's the 10 Sifirot. Sifirot is plural, is the plural version of Sifirah. When we're talking about just one of the spears there, we use the term Sifirah. When we're talking about more than one, we use the term Sifirot, which is the plural Hebrew form. Okay, I'll just come out here with you guys, and so I can talk. I'll be closer to the camera. Let me grab my notebook too. Okay. Now, let's sit. Yeah, we can sit there. I can see. Now, the 10 Sifirot is. This is the structure of the universe, both seen and unseen. You have the very top, which is, well, I'll start at the bottom. At the very bottom is Malhut, all the way down to the bottom, Malhut. Malhut represents our physical, corporeal world that we're in right now. And it's called, Malhut means the kingdom. Then as we move up, straight up, we come to Yesod, which means foundation. Then we go to the left, we go to Had, which means splendor. Then coming all the way across to the right is Nasak, which means victory. Then going on a diagonal to the left, we come to the center, Tiferet, which means beauty. Still proceeding to the left is Guvara. Now coming all the way back over to the right is Hesed. Now moving from Hesed diagonally up to the left is Binah, which means understanding. Oh, let me go back. Guvara means judgment. I think as Tiferet is beauty. Guvara is judgment. Hesed is mercy or love. Going up to the left of Binah is understanding. Coming across to the far right is Hakma, which means wisdom. And then going up diagonally to the left again to the center apex of the Sifirah is Keter, which means crown. Now, if you notice in the center, above Tiferet and just below Keter, between Hakma and Binah, there is another Sifirah there. And I don't know if you can really see it on camera or if you can even see it from your seat, but it's a dotted line around it. It's not a solid line like all the others. Da'at, which means knowledge, is considered a pseudo Sifirah. Sometimes when you're talking about things, you'll use that particular Sifirah, Da'at, and then other times you won't. It's like it's there and it's not there. It depends on, you can say, the situation that we're addressing. Now, that's the spirit realm. from Malhut at the bottom, which is always the physical world that we, time, space, and motion, all the way up to Keter, which is the throne room. Keter, Hakma, and Binah is the throne room. Can you give me a hand with this?
The big board?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Is it better that take it out that way
No, your side.
on my side? Okay. I'm going to pull out something so that you can. I'm not going to really show this on camera. Not necessary. But it has some things on there I want to kind of bring to your attention. The 10 Sephirot has a few other names. It's called the Tree of Life. In Judaism, other than the 10 Sephirot, it is referred to as the Tree of Life. In Christianity, it is also called the body of Yeshua. So, I didn't want you to move it off there, did you?
It's still there.
It's on? Oh, okay. It's still showing just this one?
Close.
You can see both of them now? Okay. Again, it's called the 10 Sephirot, the Tree of Life, the body of Yeshua. It's also called Yod He Vav He. Okay? Which is the Tetragrammaton, or the Hemi Shema Foresh in Judaism, which is the covenant name of God, Yahweh. The Keter and Hakma represents the Yod. Keter is this horizontal line going across. Hakma is represented by this vertical line coming down, a little short vertical line coming down. He represents Binah. Vav represents this lower six. The lower six. Hesed, Tiferet, Gevara, Had, Nesak, and Yesod is said to fold all, can compress itself, or is compressed into what is called Zer and Pin. Right here, Zer and Pin. So all six are referred to as Zer and Pin. Zer and Pin is considered male. Malhut is considered female.
Now, what do you mean by that? Like, when you say it's considered male and female?
As you can see, Yesod penetrates Malhut. All the blessings from the Creator, from God, filter down to Hakma, Binah, then to Hesed, then to Guvara, then to Tiferet, then to Nesak, then to Had, finally into Yesod, and then from Yesod into Malhut. So, again, the Yod, the top of the Yod represents Keter, the bottom part of the Yod represents Hakma. This He represents Binah. This Vav, the Hebrew letter Vav, represents Zer and Pin, or Hesed, Guvara, Tiferet, Nesak, Had, and Yesod. This He, the last He in God's name, represents Malhut. In Kabbalah, many of the prayers will begin with a statement saying to unify the name, Yod-He with Vav-He. Anger is the worst thing you can do in Kabbalah. You know, that's the plague, anger is just you want to avoid anger before anything. When you get angry, when you get mad, when you get upset, when you do things that you should not do, it is said that you cause separation between this Hey and this Vav. Now, looking at the 10 Sifirot here, the illustration here in both, if you separate the Hey, which is Malhut, from the Vav, which is Zern and Pen, or these six, you have a separation from God's blessings. So in many Kabbalistic prayers, they start off with that statement to unify the name, Yod-He with Vav-He. Because when you get angry, you are separating yourself from the blessings of God. Okay? Now, Keter, Hakma, and Bina also have a name. It is the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. It is the Godhead. Now, Trinity is, if you don't know, I'll tell you now, Trinity is an extra biblical term. It does not appear in the Bible anywhere. Okay? Neither does the word Bible appear in the Bible anywhere. So, if you're hung up on the name the Trinity, get over it. Okay? You know, the word Bible doesn't even appear in the Bible. You know, it doesn't mean anything. I mean, that argument is really moot, is dead, is nowhere. I mean, if you don't believe in the Trinity, that's fine. But don't use the argument that it's not in the Bible. Like that's, you know, like that word, you know, the fact that that word is not actually in the Bible means anything. The word Bible is not even in the Bible, okay? Now, as I say, Keter, Hakma, and Bina is the Trinity. It's the Godhead. And also, we call it the three pillars because you have the right, the left, and the middle. The three pillars or the three-column system. Those are other names that we will associate with the 10 Sifirot or with the top three. Trinity, Godhead, three pillars or three-column system. Hakma is considered male, or Abba for father. Bina is Emma for mother. Okay? Actually, the central column is a balancer for each side. You can, you know, too much of the right is bad, too much of the left is bad. Too much mercy with no judgment or restriction. You know, you love your child so much, he's 10 years old, here's the keys to the car. Too much love. Not enough judgment or restriction. Okay? Too much judgment is bad. The kid gets a C, you want to throw him out of the house because he got a C or something, you know, it's too much judgment. So you want a balance between the right column and the left column. And the central column provides that balance. Okay? You want to talk a little bit about this? I want to go grab something from the room real quick. Take me a second.
Vince is on this side. I'm on this side.
That's real good.
We have a great balance together. Whenever I need, you know, I'm too nice to the kids, I'll be honest. I'm too nice too much mercy, too much grace. I've learned over the years, he and I balance each other out through all of the methods that we were using with Kabbalah and understanding anger and just tempering ourselves, knowing ourselves, realizing there's a lot of lies you believe, lies that you don't know you believe until you start getting knowledge, okay?
Wow,
You
honey,
start
you're really
understanding.
insightful. This is on this side. Did you get that? You wrote that down, didn't you? You didn't miss that, did you?
I did not miss that.
That was a good bit.
Okay, well, finish your
No,
thought.
that was this. Yeah. We're just in terms of example, you do want to balance in relationships. This is also relationships to me. It's not just universe and a lot of other things, but we're talking about neuroplastic kabbalah and relationships. It's all about relationships.
Now, another thing you'll notice in this of a chart here on the left, I have a Star of David. The Star of David is said to represent Zerna and Pin. They call it the six edges. Zerna and Pin is called the six edges, and it corresponds to the Star of David that you see on our altar there and on our wall up here. And there's a meditation that we do that corresponds to that. I'll see if we may get into it tonight. Okay. Now, that's the structure of the spirit realm. This is the physical world down here, Mount Hood. Everything above this is a spirit realm.
Above mouth?
Above Mount Hood.
Everything is.
Everything is spirit world above Mount Hood. Okay. Now, this is also the structure of the universe or the solar system. Okay. Mount Hood is the earth, just as before. Yesod, the closest satellite, is the moon. Okay. Tiferet being in the center, everything, Tiferet has access to everything. It can shine directly on everything, being in the center. Tiferet refers to the sun.
This one is so much better to use.
Oh, over here, you want me to use this one?
Sure.
Tiferet in the center here has access to all of the Sephiroth. I don't have to say rotes because it's already through a rote. To all of the Sephiroth. The sun, the moon, earth. Hod is, what is Hod? Mercury,
Closest to the sun?
Venus, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, okay. Mercury is Hod. Nasak is Venus. In terms of planets,
Mars.
what is Earth? Third planet from the sun?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's perfect. Then you have Mars. No, excuse me. You have Hesed. Hesed is the fourth planet from the sun. Then you have Mars. Guvara means judgment, might, strength, power. Okay? What is what is Mars considered?
Hey, you got me messed up.
The red planet?
The red planet. What is red? Judgment, war, anger. Guvara.
What planet was it Hesed?
Hesed, you know what Hesed, Mercy, take a guess. Fourth planet.
The fourth?
That is Mars.
Mhm.
The fourth
I didn't-
planet.
Well, you said Devora was. So now I'm confused.
I said what?
Devora was.
No, I said, no, Hesed. I stopped and I went to Hesed.
Okay, so.
Hesed, I believe, is the fourth planet, isn't it? Not Hesed, I mean Jupiter.
Jupiter's
That's
the fifth.
Jupiter.
Huh?
That's right. Okay, that's
Is it Saturn
Yes.
and Jupiter?
right.
No, Mercury,
Just want to make sure I got it
Venus.
straight.
Yeah, go ahead. Make sure I'm
Isn't it
doing
Saturn
them
and
straight.
Jupiter?
I'm pretty sure Jupiter's fourth.
Saturn, Uranus.
This would be, I tell you this for sure. This is Neptune. This is, what is the other one? Neptune.
Uranus?
Neptune, Uranus, and what's the other one? Saturn.
Saturn, what she said Saturn.
Do you have the, did you pull it up yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
She was on the computer for this.
It's been a while since I gave this lecture. I don't have it memorized
The
like
solar
that.
system.
Just one moment.
Okay. It's on. You got Mercury.
What number?
You didn't say Venus, did you?
I did say Venus. Nasaka is Venus.
Okay, this one's so good. Mercury, Venus.
Give me.
This one's not clear. Terrible. Okay. There's something I can work with.
It's not showing them in order.
Okay. You got Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter.
Mercury, Venus.
Venus, Earth.
Well, give me the number. Give me the number.
Mercury.
It's what number? First, second, third from the sun.
First.
Huh?
First, I'm in there. I'm saying it more.
Okay,
So yes.
Mercury is hot. It's the closest planet to the sun.
Then Venus.
Then Venus.
Then
Venus.
Earth.
Venus is the second planet from the sun, and Earth is the third planet from the sun. Okay, Mercury, Venus. Then is the fourth planet Jupiter, like I said.
Mars.
Fourth planet is Mars.
Right.
Okay, and the fifth planet is Jupiter.
Right.
Okay, and B9 is Saturn.
Saturn.
Okay, Hakma is Uranus,
Uranus.
and then Keter is Neptune.
Right.
Interesting enough, the furthest planet from the
You
sun,
can get
Neptune, is the
Have to go. I see.
the eighth planet from the sun.
here.
Okay,
Thanks for coming.
so now when we look at this,
Pluto is the opposite.
Pluto is
I didn't cover Pluto. Pluto is a we have a pseudo Sephirah right in the same place as a pseudo planet.
Yep. Pluto planet.
This explains the universe, our solar system perfectly. Malhut being the Earth, third planet from the sun. Had being representing Mercury, the closest planet to the sun. Nasak representing Venus, the second planet. And then Guvara, we come up to Guvara as fourth. Hesed, Jupiter, as the fifth planet. And then 6 is B9 or Saturn, 7 Hakma or Uranus, 8th is Keter. Now, coming down here to Da'at, which is a pseudo Sephirah representing a pseudo planet. Remember I said this is here and it's not here. Pluto is the same way. All of the other planets have an orbit around the sun like concentric circles. The closest one, Mercury, then the next one would be Venus, then Earth would be the third ring, and so forth and so on. The orbit of Pluto is, I forget the exact term you call it, but it cuts through all the other orbits like an elliptical. Sometimes it's above the circles, then sometimes it's right in line, then sometimes it's even below, and then swings back out. So it's there sometimes in the concentric circles, and sometimes it's not. Just like Da'at, a pseudo planet and a pseudo Sephirah. Now, what's interesting about that is that when this chart was first illustrated, we didn't even know Pluto existed. So how could they get that right when they didn't even know Pluto existed? They didn't even know Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune existed. So this was illustrating the planets their order and planetary motion even before man even knew that those planets even existed. And it's really amazing that Pluto is classified as a pseudo-planet and represented by Da'at, which is a pseudo-Sephirah. I just find that absolutely amazing and thrilling. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing, it represents the spirit realm. Now we see how it represents our solar system. It also represents your body. Okay? Keter, Hakma, and Binah. Hakma is the right brain. This is considered the right side. And this is considered left. Hakma is your right brain. Binah is your left brain. Keter is your skull. Okay? Hesed is your right arm. Guvara is your left arm. Tiferet is your torso, front and back. Nesak is your right leg. Had is your left leg. Malhut is your feet. Yesod are your sexual organs. Now you can even take this down further on a molecular or subatomic level. I won't do that tonight. But illustrates the spirit world, illustrates our solar system, illustrates our body. All in the 10 Sephirah. Okay? Let's put them back up.
That's amazing. I heard all this first time in my life.
You heard what?
First time in my life.
First time in your life.
I'm not. All these words are new to me. So.
Have you read the Bible much? Not at all? Okay. I always would, hand me my notebook there, Leslie. Are we still filming? Okay. Now, someone might say, this not knowledgeable, say, okay, they just made something up. I'm going to prove to you that this is not made up. We're going to, let's see if I'll start it this week or wait till next week to get on that. We've gone over tonight the structure of the 10 Sephirah. We've shown how it illustrates the spirit realm. We've shown how it illustrates our solar system perfectly, and it's not contrived. And we've shown how it is anthropomorphic, and it represents our body. Now, there is another quality to the 10 Sephirah that I haven't gone over yet. And in Kabbalah, it is said that the spirit realm consists of 4 worlds. The first world would be Malhut, that very bottom Sephirah. And that first world is called Asiyah. And it's the world of action. Remember, Malhut is the physical, corporeal world. And, time, space, motion, action. Okay? And that's the first world, Asiyah. The second world is called Yitzhak, and that's the world of formation. And that is comprised of Zerna and Pen, Hesed, Guvara, Tiferet, Had, and Nesak, and Yesod. Those 6 Sephirot. Hesed, Guvara, Tiferet, Had, Nesak, and Yesod. That's the second world. Yitzhak, the world of formation. The third world is called Bria, and that consists entirely of Binah. the upper left there. The fourth world is called absolute. And that consists of Hakma and sometimes Keter. Well, we just, for our purposes, it's just Hakma. And that's absolute. And that's the world of emanation. Briya is Bina. Absolute is Hakma. Those are the four worlds. Keter is considered Ein Sof. Ein Sof. A-I-N, second word, S-O-F. Ein Sof, which means the endless and the infinite. That's the mind of God. The mind of God. Those are the four worlds. Now, in correlation to things, man was created or thought of in the mind of God, the world of emanation. Then in Hakma, it was spoken into existence. Then it was created in Bina. We were created in Bina. And then we were actually formed in the world of Yetzirah, formation. And then we became alive and animated in Malhut, in the world of action. I'm gonna leave it at that right now. I'm gonna clarify a few more points on that, but that's the basic structure of that Kabbalah puts forth. Next week, I'm going to prove to you that this was in existence thousands of years ago, before modern science, so that no one can say, well, you just made all this up, you put this stuff here, you put it there, and drew up a pseudo Sephirah to represent Pluto so that you can make this point. And we're going to go over the scriptures that form the basis and the foundation for this chart. It's right there in the Bible. And we use this 10 Sephirot, or tree of life, in our meditations. Each one of these spheres has a certain attribute that you can activate in your life by meditating on it, by meditating on the name and the attribute. Now, also, I didn't point it out when it was down, but if you go back and look, you should see Hebrew letters on those pathways. If you look at the film and the recording of this, you should be able to see those letters on the colored version of this. And we'll get into that as the weeks go on, but we'll end that here tonight, and I'll give a lot more explanation and tell you what all this means next week. It's almost 8:30, so we'll go ahead and end right there tonight and pick it up next week and show exactly how this ties in with neuroplasticity. Okay? Well, but I want you to have the foundation first. Know where this came from. It's not made up. It's not somebody who got together and decided to make something up in order to have a mystery system of some kind. Okay? Sure. Any questions?
Did you make this, or it's already in the...
I make, what do you mean when I draw out?
Not a physically draw, but it's all these things already...
Oh yeah, they're
It's
already...
not your invention.
No,
No.
you can look it
Oh,
up.
okay.
Not at all.
Google
Oh, okay.
10 Sephirot, tree of life.
Far,
You'll see all kinds of different images of it.
Okay. Because
From-
I've not seen any, so this is my first time.
First time.
Okay.
if you go online
Uh-huh.
and look up 10 Sephirot, you'll see this
See all this.
all over the place. Now, there are two versions that you might see. This is the version by the one I showed you tonight is the version by the RE, ARI. There's another version by the GRA, GRA, and we'll get into that way further down the road about the difference between the two versions. They both have 10. They both have the pathways that you see, but the lettering on the pathways are different. The placement is different. Also, instead of one pathway from Yesod into Mount Hood, there are two other pathways from Hod into Mount Hood and from Nesak into Mount Hood. That's the Gra's version. Well, you'll see 3 pathways into Mount Hood as opposed to the RE's version with just one pathway into Mount Hood.